money. I saved
I said no, partner, get out of here.
I don't give a goddamn if old people don't enjoy me. Because you're not going to be fans long anyway. Oh, goddamn it, go ahead and boo. You laughed at Sammy's eye. Because to tell you the truth, I'd rather be riding in the car with Betty Ford than to be riding in the car with Sammy Davis.
Red Fox was one of the most beloved black comedians out there, but he died trying to tell the world one shocking secret about Hollywood.
Norman Lear is a racist, a hypocrite, a thief, and a liar. Now, the LA Times wouldn't print that, but I'll state it emphatically that that's what he is.
I hate that for how it eats, but my God, man, it's the same.
Comedian Red Fox is best known for his portrayal as cantankerous junk dealer Fred G. Sanford on the famous 1970s television series Sanford and Son, his hardships with TV son Lamont, best buddy Grady, and adversary Aunt Esther, especially while simulating heart crises with the well-known phrase, "I'm coming, Elizabeth. This is the big one," will be remembered by spectators for a long time. Ironically, Fox died of the big one while filming his latest television series, The Royal Family, while friends and cast members watched helplessly.
He was always trying to tell Red how to be funny. That is so stupid for him to have approached that.
Fox was born John Elroy Sanford on December 9, 1922, in St. Louis, Missouri, as Fred and Mary Sanford's second son. When Fox was 4 years old, his father abandoned the family. His mother relocated to Chicago to pursue employment, leaving her sons to live with their grandmother. Around this time, Fox grew interested in show business while listening to radio broadcasts of his favorite comedy shows. He immediately departed St. Louis to join his mother in Chicago. A few years later, at Chicago's DuSable High School, Fox's goal of working in show industry began to take shape. Fox dropped out of school after starting a washtub band with two mates, Lamont Owsley and Steve Trammell, and fled to New York City in 1939 in the hopes of making a fortune. Playing on Harlem's street corners and subways landed the band, then known as the Bonbons, its big break. Second place on the Major Beau's Amateur Hour and a week's booking in a Newark, New Jersey nightclub. However, the band disbanded shortly thereafter. Fox was then turned down for Army duty during World War II. So Detroit Red, as Fox was as because of his red hair and fair complexion, found himself performing odd jobs, including a stint as a dishwasher at Jimmy's Chicken Shack in Harlem, where he worked with Chicago Red, later known as Malcolm X. According to Ebony Magazine's Douglas C. Lyons, Fox adopted the stage name Red Fox because of his red hair, his foxy style of dress, and his admiration for the famed baseball player Jimmy Foxx. Years later, Fox said to people, "The extra letter was so people would remember it." In 1942, a friend, vocalist Joanne Baker, informed Fox that a Baltimore club named Gamby's was looking for a master of ceremonies. Because job in New York City was scarce, Fox relocated south. At Gamby's, Fox began to hone his stand-up routine. Fox told Lyons that Baltimore was tough. "No use in me lying. That was the toughest town on earth to work. I don't care who you were. If you were bad and they thought so, you were going to know it." After the war, Fox returned to New York to play the Chitlin circuit of black nightclubs. In 1947, he teamed up with Slappy White. The two had some success, earning up to $450 per week. Their collaboration ended abruptly, however, when they attacked the Palace on Broadway. In the winter of 1951, blues singer Dinah Washington invited Fox to California to perform on her show. Unfortunately, the new job lasted barely 1 month. Fox discovered that California was far more segregated than New York, so he had to supplement his show business career with part-time work as a sign painter. Then, in 1955, while performing at the Brass Rail in downtown Los Angeles, Dootsy Williams, the proprietor of Dudo Records, spotted him. Williams encouraged Fox to record Laugh of the Party, the first of 54 albums that sold more than 20 million copies. This first party album spoken comedy with no music was a major hit in basements and rec rooms across the country, despite the fact that it contained 4-letter obscenities and blue humor, forcing many conservative stores to sell it under the counter. Emerging as the dean of blue comedy in an era before Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy launched their attacks on social taboos on race and wrote Donald Bogle in Blacks in American Films and Television, Fox became a master of wicked stand-up satires on S and other topics. Even when young, he was often a bit of a dirty old man, using the vulgar and the profane to shatter middle-class pretenses. In fact, many people credit Fox with creating the genre of comedy albums. By the late 1950s, Foxx was regarded as one of the funniest comedians, yet his appeal was limited to the black community. It wasn't until 1959, when he played New York's predominantly white Basin Street East to rousing ovation, that he began to receive the recognition he deserved. Within a year, he was performing in Las Vegas, first at the modest club known as the Castaways, and later at the opulent Aladdin, where he spent a year. Then, in 1962, Foxx made his first headline appearance at the Summit on Hollywood's iconic Sunset Strip. For the next few years, Foxx had great success playing for prominent West Coast clubs. Hugh Downs, a television journalist, saw his act at San Francisco's Sugar Hill Club in 1964 and requested the comedian to appear on The Today Show. Until then, Richard Pearson wrote in the Washington Post, television had been leery of Mr. Foxx. He was thought of as a comic that, though gifted, was limited by his off-color material. But Foxx's television debut was so successful that he was soon invited to appear on all of the famous talk shows of the time, including those hosted by Johnny Carson, Merv Griffin, Steve Allen, Mike Douglas, and Virginia Graham. Red Fox had an interesting and active second half of the 1960s. Not only was he offered regular work at various nightclubs across the country, including the renowned Apollo in Harlem, but he was also asked to appear as a guest on some of the most popular television shows of the time, such as Here's Lucy, The Addams Family, Green Acres, Mr. Ed, and The Lucy Show. His reputation grew so swiftly that in 1968, the Hilton International Hotel offered him a $960,000 contract for 32 weeks of performance. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any better for Foxx, he was handed his first role in a film. In the 1970 film Cotton Comes to Harlem, he played Uncle Bud, an elderly junk salesman. Despite his little role, Foxx's performance was excellent enough to capture the eye of television producers Bud Yorkin and Norman Lear, who were casting a new situation comedy based on a long-running British television show called Steptoe and Son, Sanford and Son, starring Foxx as curmudgeonly Watts junk merchant Fred Sanford, premiered on NBC on January 14, 1972, to excellent reviews. Lawrence Laurent, the Washington Post's television writer, described it as a small step in television's progress in showing members of a racial minority with respect, warmth, and affection. Audiences appeared to agree with Laurent's viewpoints. For the first 4 years of its 5-year existence, Sanford and Son placed among the top 10 programs on television. The show's popularity earned Foxx one of the largest salaries awarded to a television actor at the time, around $35,000 each episode. According to both Gates and Slate, Foxx knew how to spread it around. By the end of the show's second season, he owned 5 homes, a TV production company, a theatrical management agency, a Los Angeles nightclub, and a Hollywood beauty shop. Foxx had finally made it in the business, but he never forgot his beginnings or his lengthy journey to get there. In fact, he has been credited with launching countless comedians' careers. According to Raoul Abdul in Famous Black Entertainers of Today, Flip Wilson's first exposure to national television audiences came when Red Fox was asked by Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show who he considered the funniest comedian around. Red said, "Flip Wilson." This single remark catapulted Flip Wilson into the spotlight. Richard Pryor was another well-known comic that Foxx mentored. "I learned a whole lot working at Red's Club," Pryor told Walter Levy of Ebony. "I got to watch him work every night, and he gave me inspiration and encouragement so I could be more me and do what I like to do in my act." But Foxx's kindness didn't stop there. He frequently invited old acquaintances to appear on his shows, made many appearances at charity events, volunteered his time for jail shows, and entertained troops in Vietnam alongside Bob Hope. And in classic Red Fox fashion, several of the main characters on his famous television program, Fred G. Sanford, Lamont, and the Reverend Trammell, were named after his brother, who died 5 years before the show began, and his first 2 bandmates, respectively. Foxx was also known for combating racial prejudice, particularly in the entertainment world. Some black leaders, however, objected to his portrayal of Fred Sanford. Critics objected that Fred Sanford was, as Bogle said, part of the 1970s minstrelsy, the standard stereotyped good-for-nothing black roustabout. The criticisms bothered Foxx. "That's what hurts me more than anything else," he told Lyons, "to see blacks criticize a man who was making a living." Sanford wasn't relieved. He didn't ask the government for anything. and he wasn't begging nobody for nothing. Nonetheless, despite winning a Golden Globe Award in 1972 and 4 Emmy nominations for his portrayal of Fred Sanford, Foxx's enthusiasm for the character and the show diminished as the series gained popularity and its actor became a true celebrity. Contract disagreements, battles over creative control, and working conditions all contributed to his departure from the show in 1977. ABC promptly approached Foxx to appear on his own variety show. Unfortunately, the Red Fox Comedy Hour had only 1 season. 2 years later, he was back on NBC, attempting to replicate the part of Sanford in a reboot of the old sitcom. However, the sitcom, simply named Sanford, aired for only 1 season. Foxx remained undaunted by the losses, returning to Las Vegas and his stand-up performance. At this point, Foxx's years of luxurious living began to take its toll. He lost the majority of his business ventures, as well as his luxury vehicles, and 3 of his 5 mansions. In 1983, he filed for bankruptcy, alleging personal debt and tax issues. In 1989, the Internal Revenue Service seized his assets to assist pay off the $2.5 million in taxes, fines, and interest he owed. Even when the chips were down, Foxx continued to amuse audiences in Las Vegas. In 1986, he attempted another television series, The Red Fox Show, but was again unsuccessful. The next year, he starred in his debut television film, Ghost of a Chance, and then appeared in the 1989 film Harlem Nights alongside comedians Pryor and Murphy. Though the film was supposed to boost the careers of its performers, critics mainly disagreed. Foxx was not discouraged by skeptics, and he returned to television in 1991, starring in another series. According to TV Guide's Michael Leahy, the ratings for the first 2 episodes of The Royal Family exceeded expectations. This was great news for Red Fox. Everybody says we're gonna have a hit. I'd like this to be big so I can end my career on a high note. If it's my last hurrah, it's gotta be a good one. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last. On October 11, 1991, during a brief practice for the show, Foxx was joking with the cast and crew when he collapsed to the stage floor. At first, many there suspected he was staging another Sanford-style heart attack, but reality hit a little more than 3 hours later when Foxx died of a heart attack at Queen of Angels Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center. He was 68. In his most recent long interview, Foxx told Leahy that despite his life's ups and downs, he was a happy man. I've lived pretty high and good, and then it got rough, but in between, always, I've been having some bleeping laughs. Red's stance against racism in Hollywood was well placed in hindsight. Carl Winslow, the protagonist of the 1990s series Family Matters, wore his badge proudly. On the program, which follows a middle-class black family in Chicago, Winslow, played by Reginald Vell Johnson, enjoyed being a cop nearly as much as he despised seeing the family's troublesome neighbor, Steve Urkel, Jaleel White, appear in his home. Carl was the quintessential sitcom cop, complete with donut cliches. In one scenario, he admits to having experienced the worst day of his life. I was in a high-speed car chase and ran out of gas. The comedy did not always set new standards. Family Matters' cast was predominantly black, yet the sitcom was primarily created and conceptualized by white individuals. A 1994 episode, Good Cop, Bad Cop, demonstrates the extent to which a black writer can be marginalized, even on a show about a black family. In the episode, Carl's adolescent son, Eddie, Darius McCrary, comes into the house, apparently distraught after a run-in with the cops. However, Carl maintains that Eddie's account of being harassed and forced to the ground does not add up. That's unusual procedure, unless you provoked it. Carl's response is abrupt. He may be Officer Winslow on duty, but he is still a black father, one who should be aware of how police in America frequently treat young black males. Eddie walks away, enraged. Felicia D. Henderson, a black producer and screenwriter who worked on Family Matters from 1994 to 1996, before going on to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Soul Food, and Empire, remembers the tension in the writer's room as the episode was being workshopped. Television shows are often developed by a team that works together on scripts. Exchanging ideas and critiques around a table is an important and sometimes rowdy element of the process. However, there is a hierarchy in the room. Senior writers wield power, and the showrunner is ultimately in command. Family Matters wasn't any different. Henderson, then a junior writer and one of just a few black staffers on a team of more than a dozen, was initially hesitant to weigh in when a white writer mentioned Carl responding in the manner he did. But the line felt incorrect to her, so she spoke out. I just said, well, no black father would tell his black son that, Henderson told me recently, and the room got silent. I mean, you can hear a pin drop. The white showrunner defended the line and it went in. It was clear in the room and in the moment that I had offended them. Henderson recalled. Like, what, are you saying we're racist? No, but I am saying that's not realistic. Good Cop, Bad Cop concludes with Carl confronting the cop and reconciling with Eddie. Viewers are given the kind of safe conclusion that wraps up a very special episode. Eddie was correct to be furious because some police officers are racist. A month after George Floyd was slain by a Minneapolis police officer, the Family Matters Ensemble reconnected on Zoom to revisit the storyline from 25 years ago. When they wrote the episode, we didn't realize it would be so revealing and telling today, Vel Johnson told CNN. Yes, revealing and telling, but perhaps not in the way he expected. Working on Family Matters introduced Henderson to a defining element of her long Hollywood career. She uses the word negotiated authenticity to characterize what many black screenwriters are tasked with producing. Blackness, yes, but only in ways that white showrunners, studio executives, and viewers would accept. The type of the negotiation that black writers must conduct has evolved throughout time. A half-century ago, just getting black characters on TV was difficult, and black screenwriters were scarce. Today, as more networks and streaming platforms promote their black shows, you'd be forgiven for thinking that every month is Black History Month. It's tempting to believe that black performers and writers now have a plethora of opportunities, including extensive creative freedom for those who reach the top. This period of peak TV, in which the entertainment landscape is flooded with more high-quality series than ever before, has been beneficial in certain ways. According to data collected in UCLA's 2020 Hollywood Diversity Report, an annual study of the entertainment industry's progress, or lack thereof, nearly 10% of lead roles on TV were filled by black actors, bringing the industry closer to proportional representation, which would be around 13%. Shonda Rhimes, as titanic as any creative personality in the industry, has created some of the most successful programs in recent memory, including Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with. Kenya Barris, the creator of Black, has created funny series that address deadly serious topics of race while appealing to a varied audience. Despite the progress made by people such as Rhimes and Barris, power in the television business remains mostly concentrated in the hands of white executives. According to the UCLA Diversity Research, less than 11% of broadcast scripted show creators, 15% of cable scripted show creators, and 11% of internet scripted show creators belong to any underrepresented racial group. These groups taken together account for nearly 40% of the U.S. population. According to a survey commissioned by Netflix, only 12% of scripted series creators are persons of color, where Rhimes and Barris previously worked. According to an industry-wide survey conducted in 2017, white showrunners lead 91% of all series. Too frequently, as Henderson told The Atlantic, it's still white people determining what the black experience is and then hiring black writers to authenticate it. So in essence, the things that Red fought against, though less common, are still very much prevalent. Sure, they may take on different masks and be worded differently, but those that bear the brunt of it report it to this day. That's all for the video, folks. Thanks for watching.